Okay, welcome to a special edition of the podcast to reveal and discuss the 2025 Western States Golden Ticket Calendar. I am joined by two very special guests. First, Western States Race Director, Mr. Craig Thornley. Craig, how you doing?
Well, it's pretty busy, getting close to the race here. But other than that, I'm doing really well. I'm excited to announce the Golden Ticket races.
Yeah, we were just chatting about how Craig is not getting a lot of sleep, but we got to give some shine to Diana Fitzpatrick, who happened to carry a chainsaw 11 miles doing trail work, the president of the board of the Western States 100, and her vice president also joining us here today, 7-time Western States finisher, longtime board member, industry titan, Topher Gaylord. Topher, good to see you, buddy.
Great to be here today. Fired up to talk golden tickets.
The time is right to start talking about 2025 as we're all getting very excited about the 2024 race, which is just around the corner. Craig, starting with you, recording a podcast like this and revealing the list and explaining the rationale behind the golden ticket chase, it feels like a good opportunity to just talk about the spirit of transparency that pervades the Western States 100, something you've made a hallmark of your leadership as race director of the event. So before we get to the list, speak a bit about the spirit of transparency, that value in general, or specifically as it pertains to the Golden Ticket calendar.
Yeah, it actually goes back to when I was a runner and a participant in the lottery of Western States. You know, there were a lot of things that weren't very clear. People would show up on the entrance list, and those of us in the lottery or trying to get in the race would say, how in the heck did that person get in the race? So when I got this job, I wanted to make sure that I was absolutely transparent on everything that I can control. And I think we've done a good job of doing that. And it's a value that I hold not just in Western States, but in my whole life. I try to be absolutely transparent in everything I do.
The reason I wanted to start there is because there's going to be a lot of people interested to hear about the list that we're going to be revealing here momentarily. And so I think it's important for us to, when revealing this list and talking about the decision, that we are transparent in explaining the rationale. Topher, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to Craig.
I think it's just to piggyback on Craig's comment around transparency. I think we're one of the only races I'm aware of in the world that lists every runner who's entering in exactly how they found entrance into the race. And we're one of the very few races that every elite runner that participates also is required to race their way in, either by earning top 10 in the prior year or racing their way in on a golden ticket race. And so there is no back door, there is no side door. There's only the front door of transparency to Western States. Pretty cool.
The front door. So let's not bury the lead anymore. Craig, as race director, the floor is yours. The honor is yours. Please tell the people about the next year's Golden Ticket calendar.
Okay, for 2025 Western States, there will be 6 Golden Ticket races. There will be a total of 30 tickets given out, which is the same as what we've had in the prior years. It's one fewer race than we had in 2024, this race. So 3 of those Golden Ticket races will have 6 tickets, 3 men, 3 women, and 3 of them will have 4 tickets, 2 men and 2 women. It'll start off at CCC in France, Italy, and Switzerland. That'll be a 6-ticket race. Javelina 100, presented by Hoka, will be a top 2 men and top 2 women. Black Canyon, presented by Hoka, also in Arizona, will be a 6-ticket, top 3 men, top 3 women. Tarawera 100K will be a top 2 male and female for a total of 4 tickets. Then a new one here is Chianti by UTMB, the 123-kilometer version, which I think in the UTMB vernacular, it's in the 100-mile category, but it's the 123-kilometer race. That's a 4-ticket, top 2 men and top 2 women. And then the final golden ticket will be right here next to my house here in Auburn, the Canyons by UTMB, 100K, 6 tickets, top 3 men and top 3 women.
CCC, Javelina, Black Canyon, Tarawera, Chianti by UTMB, and Canyons. Topher, starting the conversation about the rationale, I think it's important to start with what our goals are. And I guess we should say that it really is the 3 of us in the Western States organization that works on this year round. So for people who want to blame somebody, you can blame the 3 of us, but we orient everything around a single mission, like something that we're really trying to accomplish when constructing the Golden Ticket calendar. Say a few words about what that mission is, Toph.
Yeah, I think number one goal is really to provide a path for the world's best ultra runners to compete at Western States. So like that's the baseline criteria. And when we think about the race selection, we're really thinking about races that both attract and bring out the absolute best ultra runners. And I think one of the things that we talked a lot about as a group, and Dylan, you brought this up, was like the seasonal rhythm of an elite ultra runner, and what is that period of time that allows, elite or professional ultra runners to go execute against their A race and then come back in and actually be ready to run, a golden ticket race for Western States. And so we really looked this year more than ever at exactly what the calendar criteria would be for the golden ticket races. And with the exception of CCC, because it's such a championship quality race, that was sort of an easy one for us to say, hey, that some of the best runners in the world are competing at CCC at that 100K distance. Outside of that, we really looked at that November to early May window as being the ideal time of the year window for, the runners that can qualify via golden ticket races to be able to come back in and race their way in that window. It allows them really to go have an A race season, sort of have a bit of time off, and then come back into it either early season and get another break or get that final opportunity at a race like Canyons. And I just add, the other key criteria for us, Hoka is our presenting partner. And so it's really important. A baseline criteria we had to select, like we had to look at the universe, was a baseline criteria of being a Hoka race. And we also really believed it was important to look at a path or a global path in every region of the world. And that's why we ended up, with 2 golden ticket races in Europe, 1 in Oceania, APAC, and then 3 in North America. That gives ultra runners, regardless of where you live, at least a regional, I wouldn't call it a local path, but a regional path to racing in one of the races.
Well said, Craig. Anything else you want to add about the process or engaging various stakeholders after the 3 of us put our heads together?
Yeah, I think it's probably worth talking about why we have international races in our series. The golden ticket used to primarily be U.S.-based races, and when we were part of the Ultra Trail World Tour, UTWT, we were able to get international athletes into the race via that avenue. And when UTWT went away, we are now using the golden ticket races to get our international field, which is slightly different. So we're not looking at the location, the geographic location in the United States where these are. And that's the reason.
Okay, great. So I want to come back and talk about the geography here in a second. But first, I think it's important to go a little bit deeper on the structure of the golden ticket calendar and how it differs from last year. We've mentioned this, but I feel like it deserves adding a finer point. We went from 7 races to 6 races. And one of the experiments that we're running this year, based on some success that I think we would all agree that we've had recently, is employing more of these, what we call internally super golden ticket races. Topher, Craig, anything you want to say about that? Because to me, this is exciting We've seen at Black Canyon what it does in concentrating the competitive depth. And now we have an opportunity to expand that model here in 2025.
Yeah, I'll say one thing. When we had some cancellations because of COVID, we ended up
Tarawera was canceled 2 years ago, so Black Canyon
Canyon had. So it really wasn't the first time last year.
Right.
And as soon as we advertised that, wow, there's more tickets at Black Canyon, Jubilee told me, wow, we got so many more elite athletes trying to get in the race. So it definitely changes. I can't speak from an elite athlete perspective. You'll have to do that, Dylan. But the opportunity to get a ticket where there's 3 tickets seems to be much more enticing than 2 tickets. I don't exactly know why it's such a big increase, but it has made for some incredibly deep fields.
Yeah, I mean, yourself short, Thornley. You've been top 10 at Western States, haven't you?
Yeah, I was, but I couldn't race my way in.
It's been a few years. Neither could I, buddy. Probably neither could Topher. So
no.
We've all had our glory days. Go ahead, Toph.
No, I was just going to say, the top 3 versus top 2, in a lot of ways, is attracting an even greater concentration of talent to the races. And, I think we all get through a golden ticket weekend and we're like, oh, it's so tough that we've only got, 2 spots when there's so much talent. And, 3 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 50% more than 2. And it also opens up the opportunity and really, I think is what's so great. And I think one of the things we really look very carefully at, and Dylan, you've pushed a lot on this, is like, what races are the top 3 really taking their tickets? Mm-hmm. And it's, of course, we roll down. One of the cool features we have is we'll roll down up down to 5 deep. And that creates some really cool dynamics in the golden tickets where, maybe someone's already in the race, and maybe Dylan or Craig, you guys want to talk about that.
Well, I just would love to add my perspective here briefly on going to the Super Golden Ticket, going 3 deep. And the 3 that we're going to have, just to repeat it, CCC, of course, a world championship level event that we used as a golden ticket race for the first time in 2024, and that is substantially adding depth to our 2024 race this year. And of course, when you assemble a championship field like that, even if tickets roll down to number 5 or number 6, you're still getting some of the best international athletes in the world to come to Western States. Black Canyon, they've already had that precedent and have proved that they are worthy of a super golden ticket designation. I think similarly, Canyons, all of us were there this past spring. And if we could have given out 1 more ticket each, I think we would have been glad to do so. Craig, anything else that you wanted to add there?
No, I think you're right. We were I was a bit surprised how deep the Canyons was. Yeah. Getting really close to Western States. I wasn't expecting that deep a field. So I think Canyons definitely surprised us, and that was the enough to let us give that one an extra ticket each.
Yeah. Okay, so just wanting to, again, be transparent with our viewers and listeners about this. This is, I think, the biggest change to the calendar this year. Fewer races, the same number of tickets, and concentrating some of that competitive depth into Super Golden Ticket races, again, to achieve our mission, which is to assemble the best possible field at Western States in the 4th weekend of June every single year. Coming back to the geography, 3 in North America, 2 in Europe, 1 in Asia Pacific. And one of the things that I think we can all acknowledge that we will potentially be getting some criticism about is that we don't have any East Coast exposure. We have left Thailand by UTMB, and, we can't distribute these races to every single corner of the earth, even though we do put a lot of thought into this. We acknowledge that people do sometimes view this as an exclusion of their home region or of other special regions in the world. So opening that conversation to Craig and Topher, any comments you want to make about the geography, both domestically and internationally?
Well, we're not trying to slight any geographic region in the United States. It's never been our intention times where we've kind of forced races on the East Coast, and oftentimes West Coast runners or Colorado runners, they go to those races and they win the golden ticket. So it's not. I don't think the geographic distribution in the United States is as important as regionally, as Topher said. It's region, not geography in the United States.
Yeah, and I would just add, for example, Europe's got one of the largest and most competitive elite ultra running fields in the world, and so it was important to have two races in that geography. We think it's really cool. We had a lot of fun talking through. Again, we looked at the calendar, November to May, that and then a Hoka race, and that shrinks the universe down when you put those as key criteria. And we sort of fell in love with the idea of a race in Italy. The rolling hills of Tuscany at the end of March is incredible. And I think also what's really cool about the race series for 2025, most of the races simulate in some way or another Western states sort of conditions. They're not like brutal mountain races. They're not hunt and peck trails. There's a lot of rather fast running and terrain that might simulate someone that could perform really well at Western states. And in Tarawera, you might say, hey, that's all the way in New Zealand, but that's also a super cool destination and very easy for people in North America. There's direct flights straight into New Zealand, and there's easy flights largely in the same or similar time zones in Asia. So there is opportunity there, and it was important that we were able to have a footprint in each region.
Yeah, it makes me want to just also emphasize something that is probably obvious to our listeners here, but there's 400-kilometer distance races on the calendar. There's 100-mile distance. And I think, interestingly, there's one off distance, the 123K at Chianti by UTMB in March in Italy. I really like that. 400K races, 100-miler, and one that sort of splits the difference there. And again, we do our best to try and give all the professional athletes who would have the talent and skill to achieve a golden ticket to put a race somewhere near them to where they would have the opportunity to chase that opportunity. And we do the best that we can with the calendar that exists globally. One other thing that I think is important to talk about is this new anti-doping structure that we've got. Toph, do you want to say a few words about that?
Yeah, so it was important for us that those who earn their golden tickets into Western states do so in a race format that has an anti-doping policy as part of the race organization. And so this year, all of the races in the Golden Ticket Series have committed to anti-doping and anti-doping testing as protocols as part of the race process. And that just ensures that the elite field that arrives at Western states, whether they're a top 10 returning athlete or an elite athlete that's earned their way in via a golden ticket race, has all entered the race through an anti-doping process. So we're really, there's a significant amount of investment that every race has to put in to make that a reality. And it was important that when we think about, investing in the elite side of the field, we know that that's really important, that we have the fairest playing field for the athletes. And this was one way we could help facilitate that and support it.
Craig, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think this is this is, in my opinion, it's better than giving prize money out or some way trying to compensate the elites. I think this is a better investment for the sport going forward, at least on the pointy end.
I agree. And a big thank you to the race directors that are part of the Golden Ticket Chase, who will be making that investment on behalf of the professional trail runners of the world. In closing, guys, I just want to introduce something into the conversation here, and you guys can respond. But I think it's important for the global trail running community to understand that we do go back to the drawing board on this every single year. Western States does not collect any cash from race directors who are part of the Golden Ticket calendar. We don't receive any financial compensation or otherwise for them to be included in this. Nobody is automatic, and every year we reconsider these things from the ground up. So in the spirit of transparency, letting everybody know that we spent months working on this, even if Chianti is the only race that is net new. We spent months and many, many meetings going back and forth on what we ended up with here. So even if it feels similar, trust me, we start from first principles. Topher, Craig, anything you want to say about that or anything else before we wind down?
Yeah, two things. One, for us, the Golden Ticket races are a great way to foster building the community and building the race community. And I think, it's a reminder, Western States is a nonprofit organization, and 100% of our funding comes through our sponsor partners, our entry fees, and donations to the organization. And to the extent that we can operate and create this world-class experience for the community without raising more funds, we'll do that. And we're in a position where we don't need to ask race organizers or other race events for compensation. And so we'll do that as long as we're financially able to. And that's sort of a guiding principle for us as well. Like, be really great community members, be focused on building the community. And the second piece I'd just add that I think is really cool is, our Golden Tickets and our returning top 10 really bring an elite field, 50-50 elite field, men and women. And it's a great way for us through our live broadcast to showcase, obviously, every single runner from the first runner to the final finisher, but also showcase the most competitive men's and most competitive women's 100-mile racing field in the world and give them that stage. And I think that's our way of, one, helping build those athletes and giving them that stage, but also for those athletes to inspire, the next generation of ultra runners, whether they're on the men's side or on the women's side of the race field.
Well said. Craig, closing comments from you?
Yeah, it would be really easy for us to charge to be a Golden Ticket race. We would have, and we have people lining up trying to get into this series. If we were trying to make money, we would have already raised our entry fee to $1,500, right? You got 9,100 people trying to get in the lottery. We could easily charge $1,500, like Badwater charges 15 or 16, something like that. We're not trying to make money. So I think it's pretty obvious.
Very cool. So again, if you have comments, criticism, we can take it. We felt it was important to explain all this publicly. We're very excited about it. I think individually and collectively as members of the Western States Race Organization, we appreciate all the input from various stakeholders as we thought through this over many months. And I'm very excited about the race that's just around the corner. And then we can look ahead towards the 2025 Golden Ticket Chase. For Craig Thornley, Topher Gaylord, I'm Dylan. See you next time.